What is going on, guys? Matt O'Leary back with another episode of Just Jets. I am excited to get into this episode with you today, as we have a few things to get into. We have free agency so far, if Joe Douglas is taking the right approach to things. Sauce Gardner goes in on Mecole Hardman, and of course, your voicemails. Have you ever Googled yourself and were shocked to see your personal information exposed on one of those public listing sites? Data brokers are making a fortune selling your information to robocalls, spammers, and others who want to learn more about you, like where you live. As a public figure, this type of stuff is an absolute nightmare for me. Private information should remain that, private. This is why I'm pumped to tell you about our new sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do it. Let Aura handle that for you. You can try Aura for free for 2 weeks using my link, aura.com/Matt O'Leary. Aura also does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats you can't see. It's really easy to set up, so you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. You get everything at one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. Once again, start your 2-week free trial by using my link and going to aura.com/Matt O'Leary. The link is also in the description for this video, so make sure to check it out. So let's get it rocking and rolling with free agency so far. The New York Jets have had a pretty quiet free agency period. Again, so far, TBD, could change by the time after I record this, which would just be so typical, because apparently, like, I don't know, Joe Douglas only works at nights for some reason. He made 3 signings last night, or 2 nights ago by the time you're hearing this, between 11 o'clock and midnight. I was live for 5 hours during the day and we got nothing. Then live again for 3 hours on Tuesday, and the big signing was Lekai Fotu, backup rotational depth option on the defensive line. So my question, instead of, breaking down necessarily each individual guy and who they still need and all that stuff, because again, as I said, it could become dated. Unfortunately, this is the hardest episode to record every single year. Green Bean said it on his podcast, the same thing, because things could become dated, unfortunately. Is Joe Douglas taking the right approach? That is the question that I want to do my best to answer. And I'm not in a place right now, at least, where I could give you a straight answer and say 1000% yes or 1000% no. I think in some ways he is right to not go absolutely buck wild, like would I have advocated for signing Robert Hunt to a 5-year, $100 million contract? No, I don't think that's wise business spending. That's what was described as reckless spending. It's just the waiting and letting the dominoes fall makes me nervous. And sure, maybe they still come away with some big names. I'm not saying every time in free agency you have to go out and get the biggest names possible, but so far, again, TBD, but so far, they've signed 2 depth interior defensive linemen. John Simpson at left guard, who is going to start, but has 2 years of starting experience and is maybe, he's definitely an upgrade over Laken Tomlinson, which you take that as a win, right? But the question then becomes how much of an upgrade. Is he average? Is he slightly below average? I would think he probably evens out to roughly, maybe average. The penalties are an issue. He's started 2 years in the league, and he's had 10-plus penalties in each of those 2 years. But his sack numbers have been pretty low in his career. 1 sack this past year, and then 2 years ago, or no, 3 years ago, I guess technically, 2021, he was the starter for Vegas, and Derek Carr was sacked 3 times in that span. He's a mauler in the run game. He gets banged for some holding penalties every once in a while. And again, good mauler in the run game. There's some upside there, but is that one where you're like celebrating, going like, yeah, the Jets got that one right. Let's go. I wasn't. Maybe you were at home. That's fine. You could react however it is you want. And, again, I'm not necessarily saying you have to go out and sign them and spend the most money. We saw Mike McCagnon do that and it not work. But sometimes I think he tries to be the smartest guy in the room and try to outsmart people. For instance, we hear all the time, or not all the time, but you get a group of people who say, oh, good teams, good organizations, they don't have to spend in free agency. But then you see a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who won a Super Bowl in 2017, went back to the Super Bowl in 2022 after flipping their roster, or flipping at least their franchise quarterback and some of the roster over. And they get aggressive. They sign Bryce Huff, former Jet. That's one that was, really bothersome to me, at least. And they're aggressive and they're spending money at positions of need. And it doesn't stop there. Like, the Baltimore Ravens have spent money. Both organizations that Joe Douglas has come from, where it's they build the right way, only through the draft, don't do anything crazy in free agency. The Ravens and the Eagles have been pretty active so far in free agency. And again, it's not always about, who spends the most and they're having the best free agency. But there were some, there were not misses, because there's still ways that Douglas can make it up. But the longer it takes and the more time that passes, the less confident I become. Because based on past history, he would have to have an outlier offseason, at least in free agency, to get me to buy in. Because I use the example, his first free agency period, Joe Douglas' priority instant signing is Gerard Davis. And you go, what? Gerard Davis? Okay. And then, in 2021, they spent some money on Laken Tomlinson, and they spent some money on Carl Lawson. And, that both of those unfortunately backfire. The best one so far, Tyler Conklin and DJ Reed in the 22 free agency class. That one's by far been the best. But then last year, first free agent signing he waits till day 2, is Alan Lazard. And that one didn't go well either. And Randall Cobb, and bringing back Dwayne Brown. It's okay to not necessarily give him the benefit of the doubt right now. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you in this episode that Joe Douglas has had a horrible offseason a day and a half, 2 days into it. That's not fair. But the skepticism online that I'm seeing is, I think, justified. And I think if you're saying, everything's fine, don't worry, you're burying your head in the sand a little bit. That's what you want to believe. And I want the Jets to be good. I want the Jets to make the right decisions. But so far, I think their offseason plan, at least in free agency, again, TBD. Hopefully this comes out tomorrow. They signed 2 guys at midnight, and I'm all excited, and it's good. But it's been a very it's been okay. You got a mediocre to okay, serviceable level guard. You brought in 2 guys in Javon Kinlaw and Lakai Fotu, who maybe, 40% of snaps. Fotu on early downs, run stopping situations. Javon Kinlaw on pass rushing situations. Essentially, they did the Al Woods and Solomon Thomas replacement. All right, that's fine. Brought Chuck Clark back. I like Chuck Clark. And I gave them credit for it. Like, I don't want, because I could see the comments already being like, you just want to be negative to be negative. Not true. I said, good. They brought Chuck Clark back. Awesome. He would have been the best safety on the roster last year if he was healthy. So I'm hoping he's healthy, because he's an upgrade at strong safety. And then they bring back Greg the Leg. Great. He's been fantastic for you for 2 years. Sign Thomas Morstead tomorrow, or again today, because you can't sign him until Wednesday. Figure that one out. Great. But there's the more time passes, the more guys come off the board. You're going, where are these fixes going to come from? And it's for the fifth year in a row, the most important offseason in Jets history. right? 2019 coaching change, getting it right for Sam Darnold and getting the new coach and all that. Le'Veon Bell, the whole thing. 2020, find out what Sam Darnold is. 2021, you turn it over. You're going to hire a new coach, rookie quarterback. 2022, got to see if the rookie quarterback's the guy. 2023, you bring in Aaron Rodgers, the whole thing. Moral of the story, he's going into year 6. They haven't had a winning season yet under his tenure, and I get it. The quarterback injury last year is the biggest reason for that, and Zach Wilson crumbling in year 2 and Mike White fracturing his ribs is probably another reason for that in in 2022. But it eventually has to get to a point where the excuses stop and the wins come. And I hope that this free agency period sparks that. I really do. But I could do without I'm going to stick to my guns in year 6 and do it the same way I always have, when it hasn't exactly been the biggest recipe for success. And the draft, had a great 2022 draft. 2023, jury's still out on. 2020 doesn't look good. 2021 obviously doesn't look as good with the AVT injuries, trading away Elijah Moore, Zach Wilson busting, the whole thing. You got a starting slot corner out of it, so that's good. But I'm nervous. That's what I said before free agency started. And through almost 2 days, by the time you're listening to this, will be day 3 of free agency. I'm still nervous. So I hope that changes. And yeah, but just wanted to get my take out there on if Joe Douglas is taking the right approach. I'm not saying he's got to spend like a madman and give these crazy, insane contracts, but you could almost be a little bit too patient and too stubborn too. And I think he's towing the line. What I wanted to get into next, it's a clip from the Pivot podcast. Sauce Gardner was on. He was a guest on the show. And it's a little bit of a longer clip, but I wanted to play it for you guys anyway, because Sauce Gardner speaks on the Mecole Hardman situation. Hardman went on and was talking and threw the Jets under the bus. And I thought Sauce Gardner really did a good job standing up for the Jets and just explaining the Jet side of things. And, again, I think Sauce on and off the field is a great ambassador for the Jets. So let's play it. We'll react to it at the end.
We had Mecole on our show, and, he said some things about your team, the Jets, and Thomas Morstead spoke out and said something about getting beat out by an undrafted rookie. And, there was some jokes you made, playbooks being leaked or calls being leaked. When you started to hear those things, how much of those feelings from the season sort of rose up and made you think that it's possible that a person like that could do some of those things?
When I first met Mecole, I think it was in Cali, first thing I thought is like he talk a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I really wasn't surprised by like him getting on the podcast and just talking about everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just talking the way he talk. Cause if you ask me, it looked like he was just happy to be there. And it looked like he just made y'all job easier because y'all just ask questions and he's just sitting there talking the whole time, which is fine because he did ball out. He balled out in the Super Bowl. He had a Super Bowl game-winning catch, and he won the Super Bowl. Now I'm happy for him for being able to make that happen, but you got to think, I really feel like you can't really discredit the Jets, especially him individually. Like, they sent you to a contender team. You know what I'm saying? They sent you back to the Chiefs and you just won the Super Bowl. So, like, I feel like that's ungrateful, and I feel like he shouldn't have got on there talking about the Jets because he could have just took the high road. You won the Super Bowl, and you had the game-winning catch. The standard, I know he spoke some good things about the defense, but, like, the standard is the standard. Everybody got to follow the standard. If the offense can't make certain things happen, that has nothing to do with the standard. Mm-hmm. It's just they just couldn't make it happen for whatever reason. We had some missing pieces or whatever. And like I said, Coach Saleh do a great job implementing the standard. Offense, defense, special teams. It's not no ego-driven program. Right. Aaron, yeah, he there, but Aaron work his butt off. Mm-hmm. Day in and day out. And I know he mentioned like helmets being on the ground. We don't really have helmets on the ground. And I know if it was helmets on the ground, his was one of the ones that's on the ground. If you really know what it is, what it takes to win, let me just put you out here. If you know what it takes to win, I'm saying, you're going to make sure you let the team know. We always around each other. We always in the locker room having fun. We always in the meetings. We always talking to each other after practice. But the reason he couldn't do that is because he never earned his stripes. He came in the facility and just thought he had it made for him. Like, if you know what it takes to win, you're not gonna go to practice and drop hella punts and then have excuses to why you dropping them. Ooh. You know, you're not gonna go in a special teams meeting and get cussed out by the special team coordinator. Like, it's just certain things that's not gonna happen if you truly know what it takes to win. So I feel like it's always two sides to it, and I'm a realist, so I'm gonna always keep it 100. Like I said, I'm gonna keep it 100 with that. Like I said, I'm actually proud of him for being able to go there and make those plays like late in the season. You know, because I'm sure when he came to the Jets, he wasn't expecting to go back to Kansas City at the same year or whatever. You know what I mean? So I'm proud of him for being able to win the Super Bowl. I'm proud of him for being able to, you know, make that catch to end the game.
Wow. So a couple things from this. One, again, it was a long clip. It was like 3 minutes, but some of the phone calls are 3 minutes. So we gotta play it. I think it was worth the while on it. Sauce, I think, is very well spoken. He did a good job of, one, crediting Hardman for his success, which, yes, good for him. He went back and caught the touchdown. But also at the same time was stern and like, he didn't do a good enough job on specials, which is true. I mean, I know I was at training camp a bunch this offseason. I know a lot of you guys were there. He didn't have he flat out got beat. Xavier Gipson was a better returner than Hardman was in camp. He lost the job. And I think he was upset about it. And that was the spark of it all. And then they decided to move on and get him out. And they do right by him, as Sauce says, getting him back to Kansas City, and throws the Jets under the bus at the end. He could have taken the high road, which is what I was saying the whole time. And again, man, Sauce just, he gets it. He did a really, really good job of explaining the entire situation and not saying what needed to be said without being hard. He gave Mecole the credit, but he threw some digs in there, like dropping hella punts and almost, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but like he came in a little bit entitled and he called him on it. I think that's a good thing. So with that, let's get to the voicemails. First up, we got Joe from North Carolina. He's calling in and he wants to get into the draft.
What's going on, brother? It's Joe from North Carolina out here. Question about the draft and free agency. Obviously, the next show is going to be after free agency started, so I guess we'll see kind of how things go from there. But question is, if and nobody's really brought this up, if the Jets happen to shore up the O-line in free agency, you know, getting 2 guards and a tackle or something, you know, whatever way, whatever magic they want to pull to shore up the line. Then the draft comes along, number 10 pick. If one of the 3 top quarterbacks happen to drop to 10, so obviously Williams probably won't, but Drake May and Jaden Daniels, if either one of them drop to 10, do you take one of the 2 and have them sit behind Rodgers for a couple of years and learn and actually be able to sit behind him and learn for a couple of years and then we've got our quarterback of the future, or is it too soon? I mean, obviously next year we'll probably have to go, you know, quarterback in the draft next year, but the hope is we'll be in the playoffs this year, so it'll be a late round pick next year anyway. So you've got the number 10. If one of the top guys drops, you go ahead and shore up the future. I guess the problem with that is, you know, with Saleh and Douglas being on a, you know, kind of one and done season, do you plan for the future right now, or do you just shore up what you can at the moment? And yeah, that's what I've got. So interested on your take of it. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, man. Joe, appreciate you calling in and checking in with us in the episode. The reason why I'm not take a quarterback at pick 10, and if that's the case, right, if someone good falls and the Jets phone line starts blowing up, I'm moving the hell out of it. I'm moving back a few spots. There's 3 quarterback needy teams right after them. They have the Vikings. They have the Denver Broncos right there. They have the Raiders are the next 3 picks after the Jets. Moving back a few spots, picking up a second-round pick, still getting the tackle that you want, the whole thing. I understand where you're coming from on if they are able to fill out the whole offensive line and the whole thing. But if Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh use the 10th overall pick on a quarterback, they very well could be using that pick on a guy they'll never see play. Because if things go poorly this year, God forbid, knock on wood that they don't, they're gonna be gone. So I think the only thing we maybe see them do is take a swing on, like, I'm talking like 3rd, 4th, 5th round quarterback, not a 1st round quarterback. I think they're gonna need to. The 1st round pick's got to be someone who could impact the team right now in 2024. Like that's got to be the 1st round pick's got to be something to impact this team immediately. That's my take on it. Anthony from Harlem's up next. He's got a trade idea.
Matt, you are a Jet icon.
I
This is
appreciate
Anthony
that.
calling from Harlem, and I got to say, you scratched the Jet itch for all of us Jet maniacs in the off season. I wanted to ask your opinion. I love Cortland's stuff. $1 million over the cap. They badly need a quarterback. I love the idea of giving them the 10th pick and moving back to 13 in exchange for Cortland Sutton. I'd love to get your thoughts on that potential trade.
Yeah, I am in on it. I think that's one that makes a lot of sense. Now, the Jets moving back, 3 spots? Let's do the draft tech value chart. Not that that's 100%, it's not written in stone, but it's a good resource to use as a rule of thumb. So the Jets pick 10 is worth about 1,300 points on this scale. Denver's worth about 1,200. So 100 points would be a late 3rd round pick, almost, or top of the 4th round pick. Like literally the last pick of the 3rd round is worth 100 points. So it'd be like you'd be trading essentially pick 100. I would do it. You move back a couple spots. Minnesota's not going to take a tackle. Denver comes up. They get, we'll say in this scenario, J.J. McCarthy. The Jets move back, and I'm sure they'd still be able to get a tackle and a pretty damn good one in that spot. And they fill their hole at their need at wide receiver too. So I'm about it. Let's do Alex from New Jersey. He's new and wants to talk about quarterbacks.
Hey, Matt, what's going on, man? This is Alex out in Jersey. New subscriber, new listener, loving the show.
Thank you, man.
Question on QB with the Jets, and not in free agency. I'm talking in the draft here. What do we do, and when do we do it, right? Do we take a QB this draft? If we do, how high do we go? How much time do we want them to have behind Rodgers? How much time does Rodgers have left, right? I think he hears the noise. I think he's going to have a good year this year if if we can keep him off the ground, right? Does he play next year? Seems like he does. Does he play the year after that, though? I don't know, right? So, when do we take a QB? How long does he need to be behind Rodgers, to learn from this guy, right? So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. Go Jets, Matt.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I think, Saleh, excuse me. Roger said 2, 3, 4 years. I think 2 is the guess, even though I guess we'll talk about it. Yesterday, we got the New York Times story that Aaron Rodgers was reached out to by RFK Jr. to be his running mate. Like, is this real life? Again, I don't do politics on the show. I don't care what your political views are. I just want to talk Jets, but that would just be absurd if that was actually the case. If Aaron Rodgers left to be a VP, I don't think that's likely. I think he's going to play 2 years, then maybe he does something there. But if they're going to go quarterback, I mean, I kind of just did it in the last one, but a mid-round guy, Michael Pratt, Spencer Rattler, Jordan Travis, those are really my 3 favorite guys who fit that description. Pratt's a little bit more of a runner. He doesn't have as good of a deep ball, and that's why he's fallen down in the draft a little bit. He's not a top top first round or top of the second round prospect. Spencer Rattler was once viewed that way, but fell off a little bit in college, and there's some character concerns. And then Jordan Travis is injured, and that's a big reason why he's probably going to be available in, let's say, the fourth round. So you got to pick from that group. And again, they're not perfect prospects. If they were, they'd be going much, much higher, and no one's a perfect prospect. But you got to take a gamble on any of those day 2 or 3 guys, and you kind of just got to pick what traits you like and what ones you think you can work with and go from there. Let's do Jerome. Speaking of Rogers, our friend Jerry from Savannah, I'm sure he's going to be a little upset. What does he got?
Matt O'Leary, thank you so much for taking my call. This is Jerome from Savannah. Quick story. One time I was in Atlantic City, and I tried acid for the first time, and the buildings on the boardwalk started bending, colors were making sounds, I could hear the air vibrating. It was just the most wonderful hallucinations I've ever had in my life. And I still wasn't as high as Aaron Rodgers must have been when he said he was going to play another 4 years. I mean, this dude is delusional. I mean, his production in the last few years has been declining, and that one was when he was supposedly healthy. Okay? I mean, what is his collarbone? Is he Wolverine? his body parts just randomly rematerialize. Give me a goddamn break! Oh my God, this dude's gonna get blindsided, playing behind this bad offensive line, and they're gonna have to carry him off the field like they did last year. 4 more years. How about 4 more fucking plays? Get through a whole series first. Throw a pass without running to your left in desperation and heaving it out of the side, off to the sideline. Schmuck. All right. I promise the next time I call, I'm not going to be fired up like this. I'll be more gentlemanly because it's not how I like to be. But come on, man. This guy, no intelligent person would take this motherfucker seriously. Anyway, Matt, thank you for taking my call. Hope all's well. And look forward to you guys live streaming the draft. I think this will be a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And talk to you later.
Yeah, I am very much so looking forward to the draft as well. Live streaming all 3 days, so you can tune in on Talking Jets. But I mentioned it before. I'm going to drop it again in case you don't know. We are doing a in-person event for night 1 at the main event in Farmingdale. We're selling tickets for it. With your ticket, you get access to an open bar for the first round of the draft. Make use of that. I know I will. There's a beautiful buffet that we're doing courtesy of the main event as well. Wings and potato skins and chicken parm, all stuff like that. And there'll be crowd cams and raffles. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. It's going to be a really good time. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. So make sure to get your tickets to that while you can. As far as it goes with Rodgers, I understand where your frustration is. And yes, I would start with, it might be nice to get, 4 games, 4 drives, the whole thing. His last year in Green Bay, he played with a broken thumb for the full season and still had a 91-1 passer rating, 26 touchdowns, 12 picks, and 3,700 yards. It's not up to his standard, but he was like a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. And the 2 years prior to that, he won the MVP. I'm not saying he's going to win the MVP next year for the Jets if he played a full season. I would not expect 48 touchdowns to 5 interceptions and 4,300 yards. But if can he play 17 games and give you 4,100 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 picks, and a rating in the high 90s? I think he can. And I was one of these people, but I thought Tom Brady was washed leaving New England in his last year in 2019, where he had a pretty poor season, an 88 passer rating, which is, again, low for his standards. That was his lowest since 2013. And he had 24 touchdowns to 8 picks. And then the next year he goes out and throws 40 touchdowns, follows it up with 43, finishes second in the MVP race, throws for 5,300 yards. And his last year at age 45 threw for 4,625. I don't think he's playing at 45. I think 2 is a legitimate goal. I think he can play his age 41 and 42 season. Drew Brees played late into his career. Tom Brady played late into his 40s. I think he takes care of his body. I know he just got obviously torn Achilles, but if you look at him, he is insanely physically fit. He's a freak athlete, and he's determined. So I think it'll be 2 years. That's going to be my guess. Travis from Ohio is up next. He wants to talk about some of the things that Joe Douglas has done in free agency. Okay.
Hey, Matt!
What's up, Trav?
Travis from Hey, buddy. Miss ya. What can we say? We didn't overspend in free agency. We address needs, so there's that. But we didn't overpay, and the talent has been evaluated by JD, the man. So let our coaches actually coach guys up and develop players like Bryce Huff, who unfortunately
they let walk.
left us. And we can get assets and actual production because we haven't been otherwise. And he was an undrafted free agent, so he's making 17 mil plus a year. So you want to pay for that or what we got? So I wish he was still here, but I mean, come on, man. We gotta pay for the offensive line, the offense, wide receivers, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, come on. This team is a million times better. We just have to put it on the field. And hopefully Rodgers does that. He's the man. Sorry, you. Love you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Trav.
Love Mrs. Wilson. Zach can go. Bye.
If I ever... Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to get you at the end. If I ever get into trouble, I want Travis representing me because he's loyal. He may be loyal to a fault with Joe Douglas, but that's okay. He's a foxhole guy. Travis from Ohio is a foxhole guy. He's going to hop in there, and he's going to be your guy and defend you to the end. And that's what he's doing with this guy, Joe Douglas, right now. And I like, some things that Joe Douglas has done, but I have my fears right now about free agency. And I said it before, I say it again. I hope I wake up tomorrow and the Jets make some big signings and I'm all happy and things are going well and great. But I'm nervous. Travis, always appreciate your positivity. PG from Long Island has a free agency idea.
Hello, Matt. It's PG from Long Island.
What's up, dude?
Obviously, we lost Bryce Huff. Horrible management by Joe Douglas, but as expected. I want to talk about the offensive line. I think that what we should do, and this is not rocket science, is sign a free agent left tackle and a couple of offensive guards. Maybe Smith from Dallas in the left tackle. The guards. Supposedly there's a good number of quality options out there. So hire Smith, two guards, and then have ABT move to right tackle. So when we go into the draft, you're not desperate for a tackle. You can still grab one and be a good idea at 10, but you also have the option to move back and maybe pick up a second-round pick and help the team that way. I think that is probably what Joe Douglas should do. I've lost faith in what Joe Douglas does do, but that would be my plan, and I just want to get your thoughts on that. Anyway, as always, go Jets, and thanks, Matt. Bye.
Yeah, appreciate it, PG. I agree that I think AVT ends up at right tackle. It's going to bother some people, but for him and this team, what position gets paid more? I know guards market's been big, but tackle is the big money maker. The Jets need 2 new tackles. I think they could find a guard on the free agency. I mean, they just found one in Simpson for relatively cheap. As of recording this, I got to put that caveat in. Zeitler is still a free agent, so maybe that's the move. They could sign him, and then AVT goes out to tackle, and then you draft a tackle, and now you're starting to cook a little bit with that offensive line. It's a little bit more palatable, but it's they got to get the Smith is still available too. But with Smith, like I've said about David Bakhtiari, and Smith's not as bad as Bakhtiari injury wise, but Smith is going to miss time. There has not been a season in which he hasn't missed time since 2015. So something crazy would have to happen in order for him to play a full one. And you hope it doesn't come at a bad time. But maybe I've heard people say that, hey, sign both Bakhtiari and Tyron Smith, and maybe they could just combine for a 17 games. You know, get 9 from one, 8 from the other, and there you go. I don't know if that's my preferred option, but you never know. You might have to think outside the box on that one. We're closed with Peter from the beautiful Hudson Valley.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter up in the beautiful sunny Hudson Valley calling you again, trying to give you some content for Just Jets that hopefully won't be out of date by the time tomorrow comes around, even though you'll be recording this today. Obviously, day one of free agency didn't go the way the Jets wanted it originally while you were on the air. And thank you for that and the 3 hours today as well. Losing Bryce Huff. So I didn't really want to call him yesterday because, as you could clearly tell, or I could tell from the expression on your face, and I'm sure many Jets fans had the same expression, we were all upset and angry about it, and for good reason. Like we said last year when the Jets finally gave Quinnen Williams that contract in the 11th hour, as we remember, it finally happened just before training camp opened. He was a player that we drafted, in the case of Quinnen, and had developed over the last few years, and we wanted to get that second contract. That's basically what it was with Bryce Huff. He was undrafted, and, Will McDonald was a drafted player, but to me, it makes no difference. If the NFL had more than 7 rounds in the draft, I'm sure the Jets would have picked Bryce up at some point.
Yep.
Several years back. So it hurts. It definitely hurts to see him go. Good luck in Philly. But I'm just wondering why we can't seem to do what Philly has been doing and several of the teams have been doing. I know we still have to obviously renegotiate some contracts, restructure some contracts, I should say, and free up some more cap space. But this bargain bin shopping that seems to be Joe Douglas's way of building the team, as we know from previous free agency class, really hasn't worked. Obviously, this time around, we hope it will, because we're in that go-for-it mode for 2024, 2025, while we still have Aaron. But we kind of put ourselves in this situation a few years ago by having that great draft class, and then having a great season for the first 11 games. We're 7-4,
Yep.
And then we collapsed. If, let's say, we had still been 7-10 that season, but we hadn't had a 6-game losing streak at the end of it, would we still be looking at things in 2023 the way they had gone, and we just need a quarterback and we're where we need to be? And no, I think we would have built this team still a lot better and had a better offensive line last year. But we are where we are now, and we really need to put those pieces in place, or 2024, 2025, and even beyond will not be good for this team. So let's hope JD can do it, even if it means, signing these inexpensive players for now. But we got to make a splash somewhere, and hopefully it'll be by Wednesday at 4 o'clock or sometime thereafter. So let's see what happens. And as always, go Jets.
Thank you, Peter, for calling in and checking in with us. Just so you know where I am recording-wise, as Peter was saying his message, Deontay Johnson got traded to the Carolina Panthers. Have not seen the compensation yet. Obviously, by the time this comes out, I'm sure the compensation for Deontay Johnson to the Panthers for cornerback Dante Jackson and a pick swap for sources. Oh my God. I'm not handling it well. Joe, hello. You have a job to do, buddy. It's time to wake up now. It's 7:15 on Tuesday night. It's right before Talking Jets. Now would be a good time to start stirring, my friend. You need another wide receiver and 2 new starters on the offensive line, probably. Wake up, Joe. But Peter brings up a good point of how that 2022 season finished and how that led to everything. And maybe they approach I still think they probably would have needed to approach quarterback after that season. And who knows, maybe you still end up with Aaron Rodgers. But it's, as you said, in the spot that they're in now, eventually you gotta finally do something. Try. Please just try. And on that note, hang on, wait, before we go, we'll see if we get what the pick swap is. Yeah. Oh, and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going back to the Eagles. Not that really has any impact on the Jets. That's not someone that they would have been in on. Yeah. All right, that's all I got. I appreciate you guys. Subscribe if you're new, whether you're audio only or on YouTube. I appreciate you. Please subscribe. Leave a rating or a review or a comment, depending on where you are. I appreciate you. I'm Matt. I'll catch you next time.